thank my colleague from Texas, and I think at some time in whatever it is you do in life, there's a saying, it's rug cutting time. And what does that mean? It means face the reality of what is in front of you right now. Don't try to paper over it. Don't try to dismiss it. And don't ever think that there's always going to be time, sometime in the future, to address a crisis that you face today. Now, I brought with me a picture of an iceberg. And this is the way our debt looks. You only see a very small portion above the surface. Most of the iceberg is below the surface. We talk about kitchen table economics. What do we mean by that? Well, we tell people, hey, you know what? We had really good revenues last year. It was $4.8 trillion. People say, that sounds like a lot of money. Yeah, but we went out and we spent $6.1 trillion. And they say, oh, well, that doesn't sound like that's that much of a difference. Kitchen table economics. You sit down with your wife, you look at what your earnings are, and you say, well, geez, honey, we had a pretty good year. We made $48,000. And she looks at it and says, that's a lot of money. They say, yeah, but we spent $61,000. It's like, oh my God, we couldn't have possibly done that. What allows you to borrow more money than you should have? It's irresponsible lending. It's irresponsible spending. When the United States of America makes a conscious decision to enter into overwhelming debt that will not only rest on the shoulders of our children and grandchildren, it will rest on us. We talk about spending, and we talk about the size of our debt, and we say, you know, it's in the last year and a half, it's gone up $9 trillion. So how much is that then? Well, we're up to about $31 trillion in the red. But then we said, yeah, but you know what? That covers a certain portion of our debt. What it does take into consideration is our unfunded liabilities. And when you add in the unfunded liabilities, it's a whopping $123 or $124 trillion in debt. It is unimaginable. And if you could imagine it, you would never be able to lay your head on a pillow at night and say, things are pretty good. Because if we can't do this, we'll just print more money. If you printed more money in the private sector, irresponsible, then it's called counterfeiting. Why were we always so worried about counterfeiting? Because the market would get flooded with paper that had no real value. What in the living hell has happened to our citizens? And more importantly, what has happened to their elected leaders who they have elected to come here and act in their best interest? We are at a titanic moment. Our country is steaming full speed ahead at an iceberg that will sink us. We live in the most dangerous times our country has ever seen. Budgets are the key to being able to sleep soundly at night. Budgets are the plan that you put together where you understand what your potential earnings could be, and more importantly, what do you want to spend? Nobody in the private sector would ever develop a plan like the government does. And I was told when I first got here, you know your problem, Kelly? You think that a government should be run like a private business. My answer was no. What I know for a fact is that no private business can be run the way a government is. Why? When we pass these huge spending bills, whose pocket does it come out of? Who pays every single penny of it? Who's looking at balances that we can't possibly meet and irresponsibly still decides to do that? Oftentimes, to gain the favor of our fellow citizens. I hear constantly, do you think we'll get another check Do you think we'll get more help? I don't need the money, but I'll put it in a bank account. But do you think we'll get that? I said, I hope the heck you don't, because the money that you got from the government went on to your total tax bill. You do not ever receive anything from the United States government, your state government, or your local government that comes without a price tag attached to it, and that price tag is attached to your wallet, and that wallet is suffering greatly under an unbelievable burden. And we sleep through this. We doze off. We refuse to believe where it is we are going. And so when I say we are steaming full speed ahead and we're going to have a Titanic moment, anybody that understands what happened on the Titanic understands that the reason they had so many losses of life on the Titanic is they didn't have enough lifeboats to put passengers on. This government is bankrupting America. And somebody says, you know what, I'm worried about my grandchildren, and in some cases, even my children. And my answer to that is start worrying about yourself. This is in imminent danger that lies right in front of us. Our inability to face it, our delusional belief that somehow everything is all right, and we're fuzzy, and we're warm, and we're comfortable, until the wolf comes to the door. What happened here? What happened to the greatest nation the world has ever known, with the most potential the world has ever known? A government that decides that a lot of the assets we have, we're not going to use them. We're going to go to a foreign source for energy. Why would you use domestic energy? Why would you use something that's right beneath your feet? And I hear all the time, well, we're going to work on all the above. I said, that's fine, but let's not forget everything that's below. Let's understand what our assets are and understand that we are drowning ourselves in debt. Now, I'm accused sometime of being too passionate, but I'll tell you what, I'll be damned if I'm going to sit at the Thanksgiving table this year and look at those 10 grandchildren and my 4 children and say, you know what, your mother and I really love you, but we just don't care about your future. We are co-signing your name to our debt. And hopefully we'll be gone before you face that. My friends, this is not a Republican issue. This is not a Democrat issue. This is not a red issue. This is not a blue issue. This is a red, white, and blue American issue. I would ask my colleagues on the other side, please don't accuse us of not wanting to work with you. For 2 years, we haven't been allowed to be at the table. We have not been allowed to be in the room. We have not been allowed to be in the building. We have not even allowed to be in the town. This false narrative that we will not reach across the aisle to work together, the one thing we will never do is to continue to damn our children and grandchildren and the future of this country with a debt that is so large, so over-encompassing, that there will no longer be a United States of America. Anybody that tells me it's okay to spend $61,000 a year because you make $48,000, I will say you are a fool. And we have been fools. Both sides of the aisle have spent unbelievable amounts of money that you can't justify, other than the fact that every 2 years there's an election. So we try to put features and benefits together that will add value to who we are, knowing that it's a false narrative. Our real challenge is not how much we spend. It's a matter that we refuse to address the bankruptcy that we are facing, and very soon. So, my friend from Texas, thank you so much. The great state of Texas is always a place where we look for leadership and talk about, how did Texas get to be Texas? Because of strong citizens. I would just say to all our colleagues, I don't care if you sit on the right side or the left side, I would say just be on a side that is a responsible side. Amen. If you can possibly say that what we're doing is fine, and it's the best interest in the future of this country, I would say you must be working out of some new math. You must be working out of some new program. Nobody who has any sense, common sense, would look at what's going on right now. Please look at this iceberg. We are at a Titanic moment. turning your head away, refusing to listen, refusing to be responsible to our fellow citizens, will cause this country to sink. It's time to wake up, America. Forget about being woke. Wake up. We are facing an incredible, incredible challenge and a demise of the greatest nation the world has ever known. I want to thank my colleague from Texas. Thank you so much. I think the biggest part about being, in life as you're growing up, you always tell your kids, don't ever bring shame on this family, and don't do irresponsible things that hurt not only yourself but others. We have more of the oath of office is one thing. There's another oath, and we answer to a much higher power that someday we will face, and we will be held accountable for our irresponsible actions. Thank you so much. Thanks for doing this tonight, and I just hope our fellow citizens understand what exactly is happening. Thank you, sir.